chase and slasher scenes, fears in tow. Back to the future, hop in the DeLorean. Knight Rider cruising, man, there's no ignoring them. Battlestar Galactica, what a ride. Looney Tunes, antics, pure joy inside. Blockbusters ruled, we lined up for days. Video games booted up in the pixelated maze. Movie marathons and popcorn nights, we ruled the screen, living in the lights. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll, we roll. It's time to kick it old school, where the beats are fresh, the tech was gold. From arcades to TV shows that ruled, you know we're kicking it old school. Grab your joystick, the game's about to start. A high-score world, now that's an art. We're cruising on hoverboards, living our dream. Old school forever, we're igniting the scene. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll, we roll. It's time to kick it old school, where the beats are fresh, the tech was gold. From arcades to TV shows that ruled, you know we're kicking it old school.
Episode is brought to you by PTZ Optics. Disability upgrade. New Wave Toys and their Replicate Amusements products. GG Retrobox. Get 3 to 5 games from your favorite series, consoles, and game genres delivered to your doorstep every month with GG Retrobox, the ultimate retro gaming subscription box for video game enthusiasts. Use code GRS15 at checkout to get 15% off your first box. And
Boom shakalaka! Hey everybody, it's Tim Kitzer here, the voice of some of your favorite video games like NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. And I'm here to talk to you about Old School Gamer Magazine. It's the magazine for retro gaming, and it's exploding. Kaboom! Print issues come out every other month, and if you want to go green, digital options are available. Visit oldschoolgamer.com and subscribe now. That's oldschoolgamer.com. Boom shakalaka! Kaboom!
Kaboom! And we're here once again on Friday nights. We're kicking it off with none other than James Hates Everything. And I'm going to question if he really does hate everything, because I see him liking a lot of things. We'll get into all that. But James, welcome to Friday Night Fun here on Kicking It Old School.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to actually be here. Love your show and the opportunity to get to be on it. So
well,
fired up.
I appreciate it. I remember the first time we kind of interacted was with John D, and it was a whole kind of thing, which, you know, I admit I got a little hot under the collar. I did. But James was cool as a cucumber, and he calmed me down. So, James, I thank you. See, he doesn't hate everything. He helped me. But real quick, let's go down through the chat, see the people here today. Obviously, we have James Hates Everything in the chat. So if you want to have any questions for James, make sure you put them down in the chat. We also have our resident Jason AI, who's our chat moderator, he's everywhere, James. He can't be one person, right?
It's not possible. He's in like 3 streams at a time and chatting on Discord. This guy is...
It's amazing. And you say something, bam, it's in the chat. It's like he gets it. He's here. Watch out, everyone. He's in there. We, of course, have Adam Caleb here as well. Tim York is here tonight. JJ is here. Welcome. We have Tim York. We have Stock Jock. Welcome, man. Always good to see you. Thor KC working tonight. Sorry, bud. Sorry about that. John J is here. RM McCrae 114 is here. Ted Adam Green. Paul is here as well. Chris Ford, Stephen M. Jason Jason, always good to see you as well. Bo Knows Tecmo. Always got a Bo Knows Tecmo here every week. Awesome. Who else we got here? Who else we got going down here? MSU Rich, welcome. Gramps Arcade, thanks for joining. Green Semi 87's here as well. The Quarterback Arcade, always great to see the Quarterback Arcade. Make sure you give a thumbs up to his channel as well. He's got a good channel over there. Make sure you hit him up. Eric Tharp is here. Upkiss, always good to see you, my friend. Rotundo is here as well. Next, I know now who that is. I finally know who's behind the Rotundo name. So watch out. Biggie D's Arcade is here as well. Make sure you give a thumbs up and like over to Biggie D's Arcade. Nick's Reviews is here as well. Again, give always thumbs up and likes to these guys, man. They're hard workers. Zod Rider is here as well. He's just on Steph's show as well. Give him a thumbs up as well. Papa Brands Gaming. Jesus Christ, this guy's exploding. Maybe give him half a thumbs up because he's like getting up there, man. He was tiny. Now Papa Brad is exploding. I can't even talk to him. He's so big nowadays. But congrats, Papa Brad, and all that. Who else we got here? Brooklyn Menace again. VR. It's always been a thing. But for some reason, 2025 has become the year of VR. And of course, Brooklyn Menace is the VR guru. Make sure you go over and take a look at Brooklyn Menace's channel as well. Molar Medic is here as well. Brick Burner. I always get that wrong. I'm half blind. Apologize. I had a hard time seeing the screen, so I apologize for that. The Cornicade is here as well. ELO is here as well. Galaga Guy 88. You know, you got me turned down with this blue drink, and you can't really see it too well, but this is the blue drink. It's in here. And I've been drinking this like every night, so damn you, man. Got me hooked on the blue drink. Make sure you give him a thumbs up and like as well to his channel as well. I think we got everyone here, I think. Bernard Pinball is here as well. And I think we've got Meatball Saucy right at the end. We'll cut off right there. Woo! Got everyone in the chat. So, guys, again, welcome to the Kicking Old School. We have the very famous James Hates Everything. Now, James, I got to ask you right off the bat. Why James Hates Everything? So I watch your channel. You seem to like most things. So why James Hate Everything?
Yeah, so it's kind of a long story, but the most part is my friends criticize me because I can be critical about things, right? When I want them, like, Kathleen Kennedy, right? Those kinds of things, right? I get really upset, like if something I like is not good or isn't good enough, or even things I really do like, and I'm like, man, they really should have done this. It would be even better. So people started saying I was negative about everything. And so I just said, hey, I'll play into it and I'll be James Hates Everything.
Wait a second. When it comes to Kathleen Kennedy, there's no such thing as being too negative. First of all, what the hell?
For sure, she's ruining Star Wars. But there are things like that are actually positive that I get kind of like critical of.
And you bring that up, for me, I'm going to be honest. Unless something radically changes, Star Wars is dead to me. It is. It's just dead to me. Star Trek, J.J. Abrams, he destroyed that too. When you have a show called STD and it's related to Star Wars, it's dead to me. It's a shame. These were like, in Doctor Who, from what I'm hearing, I'm a Doctor Who fan. I'm not a super fan, but I hear people over there also feel the same way with Doctor Who. And it's a shame. These IPs were like legendary. They were like the platinum standard, and they brought them down.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. These are iconic things that generations grew up with, and the current generation that's in charge of these just doesn't care, right? They are like, what is it? Ryan Johnson just wanted to go in there and subvert expectations and ruin all these classic things because they think, they're not what they want them to be. Instead of going out and making their own stories that people like, they just want to tear everything down.
James, man, me and you right now, I'm saying we're like this, so that's scary for you because I'm messed up. Real quick, I did get a super chat here. I'm going to pull it up real quick from Galaga Guy 88 for the Blue Drink Fund. I'm telling you, got to watch the stream we did with him last week. He came with this concoction here. It's delicious, and it is blue for blue. It was for his birthday. Did a great job, and of course, you're going to get a nice super chat. We'll give you Vader. We're just talking about Star Wars. You're getting Vader.
You have failed me for the last time.
I really could put Kathleen Kennedy's face back there because that's really what it was for. It was supposed to be smashing her face, but thank you so much, Galaga Guy 88, for that. So that's where it came from. So people felt because you were being factual and true, You're being negative. That's kind of where it came
Yes.
from.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So what got you from that to your YouTube channel? We'll talk more about that in a minute. But like, what got you now from doing? Because you were in IT, if I'm understanding correctly, before, and now you're doing some stuff with education and stuff. So what brought you from those things to the wacky world of retro gaming YouTube?
Yeah, so I actually appreciate that question. When I was a kid, I really wanted to be a cinematographer. Like I was obsessed with horror movies. Me and my friends actually shot a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and I went in and did editing with special effects and stuff, and did a lot of that growing up. I remember making a, a video and a report in class where I used Mario Paint for graphics and edited in with a bunch of stuff, right? Because we didn't have any tools back then, and Mario Paint was like, wow, look at all the graphics and things I can do. So I always enjoyed that, but never really, YouTube wasn't there when we were younger and stuff like that. And so never really had an outlet for that. I wasn't going to go to film school or something like that. Just
Like this guy.
yeah, yeah. I would have loved to, but I just didn't.
Well, maybe not. Look how my show turns out. Maybe you don't. I went to film school,
And so, I just ended up getting into IT because IT is really easy for me. And so I was always been creative, and I've tried to do photography and things like that as an outlet. But eventually I just started watching a lot of YouTube and really a lot of stuff around cameras and technology around producing shows. Like, I think Senpai Gaming is what he goes by now. I really enjoyed watching his stuff on different cameras and lighting. And so just started studying like the business of YouTube and how to do a YouTube show. And so right before COVID, or maybe it was right after the lockdowns, I decided, hey, I'm going to start a channel and do some of these technology reviews. And that's when I said, this will be my name. It'll be gimmicky. And I'll do a shtick where these are the things I hate about this product, but it'll really be like a positive thing and just picking out the negatives. And I did a couple of those, but then got distracted with lots of other things happening at work. And really it was watching like you and Super Game Room Dudes and some of these other people that was like, hey, this is a fun community. People are just hanging out, being guys, busting each other's balls, talking about retro games and the things they love. And it's probably a similar story to many other people here, right? I just thought, hey, now I'll make some videos and hang out, and that's what really got me into like heavily into doing YouTube and focusing on it.
And what is good about it, like I said, it's really like hanging out, especially like, on these nights when we do our shows, we have these great people come into the chat. They're becoming like family and friends, after a while. The other crazy people who are involved in the same insane hobby that we have. So on that subject, there was a question put in there. You can answer it, you cannot answer it. I kind of want to know what your age group is. I'm 55. I know I look 26. I know, but I'm 55. They were asking how old you were.
So I just turned 49 on Christmas.
Nice.
So the date Christmas Eve.
You're a Christmas baby.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So I've still got another year before I can say I'm in my 50s. So
well, that's a good thing. But now you got gypped a lot of years, I'm assuming. You got the Christmas gift, birthday at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much every year, right? And then forget about having like birthday parties and things like that, especially when you're 21, right?
Wait,
everybody goes out when they turn 21, and that was not a thing, right? Who's going to go out on Christmas Eve and go get drunk or whatever? So,
oh man,
so
that's hard. I mean, I know a lot of people were born actually, my cousin was born on Christmas Day as well. And I just remember like the birthday gift was in Christmas wrapping paper, and it sucks. You should be able to separate the two. I always told my cousin, celebrate your birthday in July, like when Christmas in July, those things, should have done that.
That is literally what my dad tried to do. He wanted to have my birthday celebrated on the 4th of July instead of December, because it would still be a holiday, but it's one you can actually go, and have fun and stuff. But of course, my mother wasn't having any of that. So.
Mom, come on. All right, so
probably better she won out, because he wanted to name me Adam, like ATOM, so that
nice. So that would have been good.
Yeah, so in sports, people could call me the bomb and stuff.
Yeah,
like
that would have been awesome.
Yeah. So I'm glad she didn't win out, or she won out, or whatever.
But I think that would have been cool. So now my next question is, we're around the same age. I'm obviously a much older and wiser man, but so what was the first console? It sounds like your father was kind of maybe into this type of electronic stuff too. So did you have a console
so
growing up?
My father was actually an economist by trade, but really had an interest in computers and like, you know, I forget what the technology is, but mapping stuff, GIS, things like that. And so ever since I can remember, we had some sort of computer in the house. So we had the Trash 80, you know, probably the first computer I really messed with.
Was it
And I
the
can
black and white model or the Coco?
It was black and white. Yeah. And so it had the voice synthesizer box on it and everything. So I would type in there as a kid, you know, making
Can
it
you
talk.
play a game?
Yeah. And so I got into that stuff really young. I think we got a 2600 when I was 4, because I can remember my babysitter had an Odyssey 2.
I'm
And
so sorry to hear
only
that.
the kids that were like 6 or older could play with the Odyssey 2. But because I had a 2600 at home, I was allowed to go play it.
Nice.
I remember that vividly, right?
So
But
what was your first gaming experience? Was it on that Odyssey 2 or was it on the 2600?
really, the 2600 was first, but the Odyssey 2 was probably about the same time. But it was really the NES, right? That kind of changed my world when it became that literally video games at that point became like, you know, a central focus or hobby of mine, right? Became addicted basically with the NES.
So like I got the New York launch edition, so I had the Rob Robot and Duck Hunt. I didn't have Mario
Yeah,
with mine. What was your NES? What did you get with your kit?
it was just the Mario.
It
Yeah,
was
so no
Mario.
Rob for me. Yeah, I remember getting it for Christmas one year, and you know everything changed at that point.
Is that when it really got into where you could really into gaming now? I mean, I don't even know. Do
Yeah.
you have like a game room? Do you have a collection? Do you have some machines? Like what do you have in your place that your wife let you have?
So sadly I still I have a ton of stuff because I went rebought most of things, but I went through a divorce probably, you know, 10 or 15 years ago and had all my childhood stuff plus more. And I had growing up, I basically got every game system as it came out. So I had the only one I think I didn't have at the time was the Sega Master System, but I had like the NES, the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, um, you know, Saturn, Sega CD, 32X, all that stuff. I even bought the Neo Geo. I had
Nice,
that. I had a TurboGrafx 16. Now
nicer.
the story with the Neo Geo was obviously that thing was like $800. I had the gold
Yeah,
system when it came out. Like I could never have bought that. My parents would never have bought that for me. But I went into, I think I would have been in high school at the time. Went into a Comp USA right after Christmas, and they had this big metal bin that was clearance items, and right in there was a Neo Geo Gold
what?
system, brand new,
Really?
like it was $200. So I was like, I'm buying that
Oh
without even thinking
damn!
twice. And then obviously the games were outrageously expensive too, but we had a pawn shop on the other side of Kansas City that had a whole bunch of them used. So I would go there and they would sell them for like $60.
If
So
that's more than, I mean, $250, $300, what they would have been new, 50 or $60, very
yeah, I mean,
reasonable.
exactly. Yeah, they were like, you know, 25% of the retail price at that point.
So, what was your favorite Neo Geo game that you purchased, that you owned and had at home?
Baseball Stars Professional 2. Like, I mean, like I wasn't the fighting stuff, I was all Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, so I never really got into any of the Samurai Showdown or anything like that. But on the Neo Geo, I really liked the Baseball Stars stuff. And so Professional 2, where you had the metal bats that would extend and it got real comical and stuff. Like I just used to love playing that one. That's why
I
Unico needs to put that one on their next system. Like they have one, I need 2.
see. I liked. Was it League Bowling? I love
Yeah.
just one. You have your drink in your hand and you just go blip blip. You know, the other ones were too much. But you know, Neo Geo it still is. You know, it's a lot. It holds up very well. Like the
Oh yeah.
TurboGrafx 16, I think holds up, and absolutely Dreamcast. I still think Dreamcast holds up very
Oh yeah.
well today.
That was one of my that by far is my favorite Sega system. And when you talk about CDs, that's still my favorite, like modern, even though it's not really modern anymore. Still by far my favorite console
But isn't it funny
is
that
the
people still
Dreamcast.
think of it more so than like a PS2? People think of
Oh
that
yeah,
Dreamcast still more fondly. And I think, honestly, if you look at a PS2's visuals and the Dreamcast, which was out about what, a year and a half before,
yeah.
I think graphically it still either equaled it or surpassed it in some ways. Like I used to love I was really pissed off at EA when Sega wasn't able to get the license anymore for like the Sega Sports games.
Right.
They had the football I remember was phenomenal, and the basketball was phenomenal. And then you lost it because EA goes, no, we'll spend $2 billion.
Yeah.
We're taking it all.
Yeah. Got all the exclusives and ruined sports gaming for years and years and years.
Okay, so you had that. So unfortunately, the divorce. Was it taken or you had to sell it? I mean, what happened?
Oh, I had basically had to sell it to survive. So, I was sold most of everything. I kept a few things. Like I have some like Jaguar, Highlander, and handful of games that I just like. They were rare enough that I never wanted to get rid of them and just kept them. But it was a small amount. I kept my modern stuff because that's what I was actively playing, at the time. But since then, after that was finalized and, things went back to normal and I just started rebuying everything. And
Were you
then
buying
went
it during
crazy.
the low era or when everything started getting incredibly insane
I
era?
wish it was when they got incredibly insane. It was post YouTube pushing the prices through the roof, right? But I've managed to get quite a bit. But what I wanted to do was give myself a challenge. So I wanted to start building the NES library, but instead of going for the full NES set, which a lot of people do, I said I'm going to go for the full Famicom set.
Oh,
So I'm at like 736 right now. So I have just over 200 to go. Um, and they just look amazing. Like I have them up on my walls behind me over here to the right, just displayed out because the art on them is awesome. They have these dynamic colors, so cartridges just weren't all gray or all black. You've got different shades of red and blue and pink and like all over the
you
place.
have the Arkanoid with the spinner?
I do. Yep. I got a
Nice.
whole bunch of business software too. So if you need spreadsheets on your
Wait,
NES, I
wait,
got
did they,
that.
did they really have business software on the Famicom? I
Oh,
guess
they have a lot of it. Yeah.
did it have the
Stock
disc
trading
system?
stuff.
Was it the disc
What's that?
system? Did it have to have the
No,
disc?
they were on the cartridge even.
How'd you
Like,
save? Was it battery? You saved?
I have no idea how they saved, but they had it. It's crazy. I have all kinds of business software because that's like you can get those for like $1.
I'm
So and
sure.
they had little keyboards and all kinds of stuff. So
Do you have the Crazy Climber with the two little joysticks?
I do not. I do
Oh, so
not
you got
have
to get
that one.
that. You got to get
Yeah.
that. Great game.
I have one of the light guns, the revolver light gun. I still need to get. They had like an Uzi, and none of those they ever sold in the U.S. because they look like real guns. So they, when they brought them over here for the NES, they made them look like, laser guns or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the Zapper was gray. It didn't look like a gun. Then you made it like
Yeah.
the hot pink. I was like, oh, I couldn't even hold that. I'm like, nah, I'm good. No need. No need. I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat. I don't know if anybody's been asking any questions. We've been talking so long. If you have any questions, just post them again, put a little asterisk, and I'll go take a look down in the chat over there as well. So you got those consoles. Have you ever collected any arcade machines, or was there any arcade machines you wanted to get at home?
Yeah, so I like people that regulars on my channel know because I talked about this a bit, but I used to like in the late 90s, I managed a comic shop and then a friend of mine owned it, so I helped him manage and then managed one across town that he had. And through that, I got to know a vending guy here in town who does put in arcades and various vending machines all over the place. And so we started going with him to arcade auctions back then. And so we were buying arcades all the time. So I had like a Donkey Kong, a Heavy Barrel,
Oh, nice.
and I ended up moving in with him, and we were roommates for a long time. And we had a 4-player NBA Jam, Xenophobe, Mappy. I'm trying to think of all the ones we had. We had a Return of the Jedi. We would move them in and out, And when we were tired of them, we would just put them in the shop and sell them. So we'd put them in there so people would throw quarters in there with a price tag on it. And if somebody bought it, great. If not, I just made a bunch of money, right? So it was, we
Nice.
would rotate them in and out like all the time.
Was this on
Uh,
the same floor? You weren't going up and down like flights of stairs to get this thing out, were you?
it was
Oh,
so it was like, you know, it was a townhouse. And so our living room was on the main floor. So that we were able to just, I mean, our living room was full of arcades because we
okay.
would just put them in there. But when they were ones we needed to work on, we would do that in the garage. And so that was around back. And so you had to take them out or you're going to fight with them down the stairs. But we'd take them around back and get them downstairs. But yeah, there was no getting them up into our rooms. We were going to mess with that. So you came into our place and it was just like you walk into where you'd normally watch TV and there's just arcades everywhere.
Which is cool. My parents would have killed me at the time or someone else. But real quick, so Polo, I don't know. You gonna go see Wolfman this weekend, James?
I am not.
Am I sure? I'll be honest, I haven't been to theater in a while. Because there really hasn't been anything that really drew me to want to go see
Yeah.
the movie. And they'll end up on streaming in like 3 weeks or a month.
Yeah, they come out so fast, right?
You-
Yeah,
to-
and
when we grew up, you had to wait a year or 2 years, maybe longer,
right.
to come on VHS.
Yep. And then it was like, then you had to fight people to rent it for like the first like several months, right? Until they started getting crazy with it. But yeah, I've seen the trailers for Wolfman. I do want to see it. I haven't paid attention to what's coming out in theaters for so long because, like you, it's rare that there's one that I'm like, okay, I'll go to the theater to see it. It has to be some sort of epic where the experience can't be replicated at home. And
It-
anymore, that's not
it's
very
it's
often.
that, and like we were talking about earlier, they like if it's an IP I know, like even 007, I refused to go to the last 007.
Yeah.
I was like, no effing way. So I am actually scared to even go see these movies because, like even Wolfman, what are they going to do to him that's going to go, what the F? And that's my problem with modern stuff. If it's on TV, I flip it on, I can just flip it off. If I'm in the theater,
Right.
I just spent like $30 and then $50 on popcorn. I'm going to be really annoyed. So generally, I don't go much anymore to things like that. So since we're talking about that type of thing, James, obviously you like Star Wars. We were talking about that. Is that your like genre? Like, what are your favorite like movies? Like, I'm diehard Star Wars and the old stuff, the '80s.
Yeah.
When it was good.
Exactly. I'm a bit of a movie addict. So like really up until I pretty much up until COVID, I was like AMC theaters is big out here because it was founded in the area, right? And so we have tons of these things. I was an A-list member where you get like the three tickets a month. So me and
Right.
my wife, then girlfriend would do it all the time. We would just go every movie. That was saving me money because before that I would go to like every movie. I loved the theater experience. I was a projectionist for a few years.
He did
Worked in a
everything.
movie theater. Yeah, I mean most of those jobs were when I was a kid, right? So coming out of high school, working in a movie theater, that's ended up where I met the guy that ran the comic shop. So for a few years I worked a movie theater, did concessions and floor and then went into projection there. And like I just love movies and always have. It's always been a thing like I did with my father and stuff. Um, and so I was addicted. But coming out of COVID, you know, you get hit with the Star Wars stuff, you're already disillusioned. Then you come out of COVID and there's basically nothing. Like
Yep.
there's very few movies that are any good anymore.
Yep.
So, it's hard for me because it's like stuff on streaming is way better, right? You get a show that's 13 episodes and tells a much deeper, much richer story now. And it's really hard for, I think, movies to compete with that. And so
Unless it's a
I think I've
Lucasfilm.
seen like
Unless
two
it's
or
a Lucasfilm
three.
streaming thing, like
Yeah,
the
but if
Acolyte.
it's on
In which
Disney
case, it
Plus,
ain't competing with
garbage.
nothing.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I had picked up Apple Plus for a while because so many of those shows are good.
You watching
And
Silo by chance?
yes, I just finished it last night. So I just finished actually before coming on, I watched the final episode
I'm
today.
on episode 9. I haven't watched the
Yeah.
last one yet.
But have you watched Time Bandits? Like that's one of my favorite movies as a kid.
No, I have not. Again,
Oh,
scared to be
you
ruined.
should be scared.
Oh,
Like,
I'm
yeah,
glad I
I'm
didn't
like,
watch it
what did
then.
they do to this? Like, I think I'm 2 or 3 episodes in and I gave up. Like, it was like they took everything that was good about the show and ruined it, you know?
That's what gets me. You know, when these companies, what are they thinking when they're oh, we're gonna come out and we're gonna subvert their expectations, we're gonna change it, and it just flops, and they blame us.
Yeah.
You took a title and a property that's been well known, and we supported it for 20, 30, 40 years, supporting it, keeping it afloat, and then you dick us. What do you expect?
100%. And the cast in the original movie, right, was iconic because of who they are. Guys like Kenny Baker and all these people. And they just replaced those with just like average actors, right? I think the captain or the lead person of the bandits is that blonde lady from Friends. Like, it's like, what are you doing? Like,
Yep.
this is not the same thing, even remotely.
It's depressing. It's
Yeah,
depressing.
it is.
So you must have grown up like I did with the Sears catalog, the Wish book. I know it was your birthday and all, but you must have had
Who
the Sears
didn't?
catalog back
Yeah.
then.
Sears, J.C. Penney, had them all, right? Had to go through there, circle what we wanted, and
How did you feel about like losing like Radio Shack and Sears, all the Toys R Us, all the stuff we grew up with are gone? How do you feel about it?
yeah. So we actually still have Sears here, but no catalog. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. The Radio Shack was a big one, right? I was a big loved all the gadgets. I can remember back in the day we'd have those uh, uh, radio scanners, and you'd listen to like people's phone calls and like 911 and stuff like that. But like it was always fun and interesting, right? Because you could pick up all those wireless phones that weren't encrypted at the time. I loved Radio Shack because you could go in there and get all those stuff to tinker. And so that's something that still like doesn't exist well. You try to use Amazon or some of these other sites, it's just not the same as going into a Radio Shack and having all that stuff right there, right when you
It
want it,
was
need
some,
it.
and the prices on certain things were great, other things horrible. Like their speakers, their DVD, VCRs, TVs were really expensive. No one bought that shit, but you
Yeah,
did go in for old parts. And when you needed something, you could go into Radio Shack, get a Xena diode, you get a resistor, you got what you need for your project. Real quick, Stephen, I'm asked a question. Either of you looking forward to the new James Gunn Superman movie? That's a great question, James. What do you think about the new James Gunn Superman movie with Crypto the dog?
well, I'd kind of be interested in hearing what you think. I'm a big Superman fan. That's my favorite superhero by
I
far.
am. I am as well. I'll admit I was not a big the new Justice League one. I didn't care for any of those characters, to be quite honest. I didn't.
100%
I'm
agree
a
with you.
Christopher Reeves type of Superman, or the animated Justice League. I loved, all those animated, the Batman, the Superman, all of them were great.
Yeah,
So that's my Superman. So I think what they're trying to do with this one is they're trying to make this Superman 3. So Christopher Reeves 1, 2, and he's the third film. They're going to kind of like forget those other ones,
everything.
3 and 4. So I'm a little hopeful. I know a lot of people have a problem with the, Crypto the dog. Now, Crypto the dog didn't look like that. That's actually James Gunn's dog that he modeled that dog after.
Yeah,
So I'm taking it as, Guardians of the Galaxy. This dog may be like Groot or like Rocket Raccoon. So I'm thinking that's what they're going to use that character for. Hopeful. I do like Guardians of the Galaxy. The second one was but the first and third one were great.
yeah.
I like overall up until Thanos. That's when Marvel died after that. So I'm a little hopeful. I think he's going back to roots. So my only pivot point might be the Crypto dog. Like I don't know how that's going to work into the story.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge question, right? Because like they've never really tried to pull that off on movies yet, and they kind of teased it on some of the TV shows, but never really dove into it. For me, Superman, like obviously Christopher Reeves is the Superman when you talk about movies, but I actually really like Smallville. Did you ever watch that show?
I'm not religiously, but I did watch it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was teeny drama stuff, but it was still really great the way they, I think they captured the essence of what Superman is in that show, right? He's got all these abilities and all this stuff, but when it hit, people like to say kryptonite's his weakness. And I was like, that's not true. It's Lois, it's Lana, it's the girls. They were his weakness, right? They were made him a bumbling idiot. He couldn't do these things. And risking losing them, that was Superman's real weakness. And I just don't think any of the movies have really captured that, or any other show captured that as much as that one did. I think they did a decent job in the 70s stuff, right? With Christopher Reeves, but the new stuff, not even close.
Yeah,
It's like,
especially the new one. He just wasn't Superman to me. Superman,
right.
he lost his I don't think he lost his temper. He was Batman. I mean, Batman would do shit to Superman all the time. Superman just like, all right,
100%.
all right, man, I'm good. And he's like, I want to see you bleed. You're like, fuck him up real quick. We got one of these guys, and there's always one of these guys. It's P-Dub's Arcade Loft. I can confirm James is a fraud. He doesn't hate everything. Unsubbing, and I agree with P-Dubs. We talked about that. He doesn't hate everything. He doesn't. Thanks for super chat, P-Dubs. You have to give. Wait, we got to give him. You got to get one. We're gonna give him. Who's he gonna get? He's gonna get Blue. Give him Blue. But yeah, but he was subverting expectations. The James hates everything was subverting expectations, P-Dub. So he was actually right in line when his channel came
modern
on.
Entertainment.
So yeah, so I kind of agree with you there as well. It's unfortunate because the animated DC characters, like the movies they did, all pretty much phenomenal, except this last reset, like after the Flashpoint Paradox, the new animation style and the characters, I didn't really care for. But overall, I think the stories were good. But the movies have been absolutely not good. Aquaman, they shouldn't even bother with the second one. I think it made $5. And that's
I don't know what DC's problem is. I think they're impatient. I think they've always had this problem ever since. Like, I obviously liked the '89 Batman Keaton.
Oh, that was great. And when he came back with the Flash, I actually liked that one just because he was in it.
Yeah,
Michael Keaton was in it.
But after that, Time Warner, DC just like, hey, what's going to work to make this movie good is just shove more people in it. And immediately it was like every movie they had to put more villains, more superheroes in it with no background, no setup, no nothing, just throwing people in there. And DC still has that problem. They're doing it to this day. And James Gunn is resetting DC, and you've got Guy Gardner, you've got all these different characters coming right out of the gate in there. It's like, you're not going to have any time to explain who all these people are to the people who don't know. And it's going to be hard to tell a good story.
I never liked Guy Gardner. He's a hard sell for me anyway, because I never liked him as a character. But it's a valid point. It's a valid point. Jerk, right? And what happened was, Marvel took its time. No one was expecting much when Iron Man came out, and it obviously was a huge hit. And they took their time and did it. And DC waited all those years, and they said, "Oh shit, they're making money. We need to get on this train." And they rushed everything, and it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. And I agree. And they wasted more time now because they're resetting it again, back to zero. But at least I will say this: at least Warner Brothers realized that the movies that were going to come out were going to be horrible
failures.
Horrible failures. So I admit they took a lot of multi-million dollar, if not billion-dollar loss, but they realized that. At least they got Gunn in there, so at least there is a chance. He does have a track record of having, doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm open to it.
Yeah, and like you said, the Guardians of the Galaxy, he's done good stuff, and so I'm like you, I'm optimistic. I just wish they would kind of copy Marvel and just focus on a character in each movie, then bring them together, as opposed to making them guest stars in every movie and just trying to shove all this stuff together.
I think in James Gunn's thing, I think right now he's trying to win back the hardcore fans.
Yeah.
So that's why Crypto was kind of like, really, why would you put him in there? That's kind of, but
fan
with
service stuff.
with the people like Hawkgirl being in there, I love Shara. I love her. So her being in there is awesome. I say Guy Gardner. So I understand people like us would know who they are. New people, like I said, just coming in cold are really not going to know. But I think right now he's trying to focus on, listen, we got to win back our core audience. And once we get the core audience back, then we can slowly work on, bring other people in. That's at least my take on it.
Well, I hope that's the case. But me personally think if you just make a good movie, like hardcore, will be
you think?
Right? The only person I think in this community that's a huge fan of Guy Gardner is PD7. I don't know how much of his walk and talks you watch, but
I watched him. He's a really nice guy, and I'm gonna tell him, PD7 man, Guy Gardner is not the guy, not the guy. I mean, I get it.
Every video Guy Gardner makes an appearance. It seems like it's awesome.
I get the character. He's like he's almost like a Jim Carrey in the Green Lantern Corps. He's out there, but that's what really annoys me about him is how he is. But again, if you're using imagination, I guess he would be the kind of person you'd want to have with the Green Lantern ring, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think Nathan Fillion playing him is going to be awesome. Like, he's so good.
He does that haircut. I just can't get past the goddamn haircut. I just can't.
You got to have that goofy red hair that he's got.
Oh. So aside from that, I'm not aware of any other like superhero movies coming out aside from that one.
Captain America thing.
I'm not having any hope for that one at all.
Yeah, and then I think the trailers for Daredevil Born Again just came out a couple days ago.
Are you a fan? I was never a fan of. I know a lot of people really like him. I was never a follower of Daredevil. I really wasn't.
Yeah, he's never been one of my to me he's DC's Batman, right? And it's not been something I read or DC. It's Marvel's Batman.
Yep. I wasn't going to correct you, man. I was going to let you be.
Yeah. And so I've never been a big fan, but being in a comic shop and I have a lot of friends that are comic creators and stuff, like he's super popular among them. Obviously guys like Frank Miller and made him iconic. Kevin Smith did some really interesting runs on Daredevil. So he is pretty popular. It's never been my cup of tea. But the show was pretty decent on Netflix. I wouldn't say it's the greatest
and
thing.
They canceled it.
Isolated. Yeah,
and they canceled it. It was doing well and they canceled it.
Well, and this looks like I had heard this was going to be some sort of multiverse thing, but in the previews, everybody's in it. So his co-attorney, the girl, I can't think of what his co-attorney's last name is Nelson, or his first name's Nelson. I can't remember his other name. And then Vincent D'Onofrio is the Kingpin. So they've brought all the cast from that show over, and it looks like a direct sequel. So, which kind of surprises me. So I don't know how they're going to work in this multiverse stuff to get him into the MCU as part of the storyline.
And that's what gets me about Hollywood. I mean, I'm down with the multiverse. I am. But now in everything you see, they all copy each other. And that's when it gets to be like, Jesus, it's boring now.
Yeah, it's the crutch for I don't have a good story, so let's
Good answer. Exactly. Okay, so growing up, little 5-year-old you, sitting down with that bowl of cereal, what are you popping on Saturday mornings? Saturdays used to be from 6 a.m. until noon. It was cartoon time for us back then. So what was your show or shows?
Yeah, so gosh, you got me thinking all these things. I would get up so early for Cartoon Saturday that I would beat all the cartoons, and the Farm Report would be on, right? I don't know that they had the Farm Report on out in New York and Jersey. No,
we just had this, the Star Spangled Banner with the astronaut at the end.
We definitely had that at night, right? But in the morning, real early in the morning, right, when before the sun comes up, they'd have the Farm Report out there for, I guess, farmers, even though, it's not like nobody on a farm could get the TV signal where we were, right? So it was like, whatever. But I would always get so pumped up that I would be up really super early. And so, man, I watched ridiculous stuff. Like, do you remember Turbo? Like it was a boy that turned into a car.
Yeah, Turbo Teen.
Yes, Turbo Teen.
Turbo
Yeah,
Teen. See, I know.
100%.
I know.
You know, the Mr. T where he had the Olympic squad with him and they'd go
That
around.
was ridiculous. But yeah, yep, that was another one.
God, what I mean, I watched pretty much all kinds of crap. The Rubik's Cube cartoon, I remember watching that one.
If you could believe it, they made a cartoon out of the Rubik's Cube. He was this little green head, little feet, and no hands. It was just the head and the feet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and he was like the magical friend of the other one. You know, the shows I really liked, like Masters of the Universe and stuff like that, were always on syndication after school, like not really something I could watch on Saturday morning. But you know, I remember the Nintendo, like, you know, I still have
Captain
my kids
N, the
watch,
Game Master.
yeah, yeah, and the Super Mario Brothers Super
Oh,
Show.
that was so cool. God, it was so bad.
I always liked, I was a huge addicted to Zelda, right? Yeah, you got the dance down.
Excuse me, princess.
So I was always watch Super Mario Brothers Super Show because they would have the Zelda episodes and some of them.
I can understand it, but man, that was Captain Lou Albano.
Yeah,
I forget the other guy's name. Oh my God, that was so bad. He's just standing there. He's just, you know,
it was
that's awesome. Super Show. But
they would
yeah,
always have like
show.
Guest stars on. I remember like Nicole Eckert, I think, was in the first episode.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So they would bring all these other people on because they would do the live action intros in middle of the episodes and stuff. Hokey but fun.
So all respectable things. All respectable things. Yeah. There was some good ones and bad ones. Man, I definitely, you know, more towards the 80s, right? I think Saturday morning started moving away from cartoons. There's more news. There's still cartoons. There's more news.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like 3 p.m. to like 5 during the week. You had your He-Man. You had your Transformers. You had your Cobra, G.I. Joe.
Yep.
You know, I watched some Jim and the Holograms once in a while. Jim and Holograms, man. I mean, come on, they were looking good. But Mask. And that was, you know, funny thing about that one. I really, like, when I was on TV, I loved watching it. And you can go on YouTube and watch it. It is so bad now. I mean, other than the intro music, it doesn't hold up at all. It is like, wow, what was I smoking at, you know, 13 or whatever it was back then? But, you know, Thundercats, Silverhawks.
Oh, yeah.
All good shows. Again, Silverhawks, again, not the greatest show looking back, but at the time,
it was all part of that universe, right?
And it was funny. There was supposed to be 3 shows. You had Thundercats, right?
Yep.
And in that same universe was Silverhawks.
Yep.
They were supposed to have another one with like fish or something like that. I think it was sharks. And it didn't last.
Yeah, the toy line actually came out. I'm drawing a blank on it. But Google's my friend.
Google is our friend.
Well, I guess there was a Tiger Sharks crossover.
Oh, that must have been it.
Yeah. Yeah, so Tiger Sharks was the other one.
Right. It
So
just
they
didn't
did
last.
like one season of that, but they had the toy line out.
Yeah. So, you know, they had things along those lines were good. And then eventually even that started to go away. And it was like Donahue and all these other talk shows coming on. So the kids got pushed out of all those things until, like, you know, Cartoon Network finally came on. And I'll admit, I wasn't a big on Cartoon Network. It was mostly a Hanna-Barbera channel back then. But, you know, kids today just don't, I don't know how to word this, but when we were growing up, we had things to look forward to. Saturday morning was a thing to look forward to. Coming home from school, not doing your homework, sitting in front of the TV, taking a snack before dinner, watching that stuff. It's just not like that today. I don't know. Do you have kids, James? I didn't even ask you.
Yeah, I have quite a few kids, actually. So I have 3 older ones, and then I have 2 little ones. So one's 3 and one's one's almost 4 and the other one's 5.
Well, congratulations on all of them. But
Yep,
I mean, things you were growing up with, you can't really share with it. The experience is not there anymore.
So my kids have watched Mask.
Nice.
And that's how I know recently. And my daughter loves Masters of the Universe. Like, she asked me to, she actually, you know, I had her watch it and they love watching it. So then she wanted Prince Adam and Cringer the toy when that came out. So she has that. She still plays with it. Um, so I've always like tried to steer my youngest ones away from current TV. So they still watch Paw Patrol and some stuff.
How about
But for
Super
the
Y
most
still a
part,
thing? Super Y?
I don't remember that one.
How about Curious George? That's still on the air? Curious George?
Well, that's definitely still a thing, but
Okay.
I haven't seen the cartoons, but obviously the books, and they think they did a movie not too long ago. But the problem with today's cartoons, if you remember when we were a kid, they all had a moral, right? They had some moral to the story, and they would even do the thing at the end. In today's episode, you know, Skeletor betrayed his friend, you know, lying is bad, something like that. And now the kids shows are just pure nonsense. Like it doesn't even make any sense. Like half the time it's just crazy stuff like Adventure Time and
I would think it's even worse because I think at least
yeah,
back then
it's just
you would look towards the
noise.
mother or the father figure for some guidance. And all these new cartoons, the parents are idiots.
Oh yeah.
They're all dumb.
Yeah, and there's never really a moral. It's just some crazy thing happening. It's just like what's the point of the story, right? Like why are you telling the story? And it's usually just nonsense for 30 minutes instead of like, hey, there's really some sort of value you're going to get from the show. It just doesn't exist really.
I definitely think that's true for at least American modern cartoons. I still think like anime and those type of shows could be sometimes too serious. I mean, they could be way too far on the other side of the coin. But I do remember like when I was growing up, it was G-Force, right? But it was actually Gotcha Men. So when we got it in like 70, I want to say 75, 76, when we got G-Force, it was actually like early, or either like 69, 70 when it was in Japan as Gotcha Men. And it was a much more violent, realistic type of show.
Right.
Which just shows that for some reason, we don't know, I guess, how to properly treat that come to the kids. I mean, kids can understand certain things. I mean, there's too much violence. I get it. So I understand what you're saying. If you put on a modern show, it's just some wacky thing going on.
Yeah.
And even live action shows. I remember the Chuckle Patch. I think it was the Magic Garden, or New Zoo Review, or those type of shows. At least there was some moral, and the parents or the adult figures weren't morons. They would actually say, listen, you can come to us and we can help you out and still do your thing. We're not going to tell you what to do, but at least get some guidance. Now we're just like,
I mean,
hey, Jimmy, I don't know, Jimmy. I'm going to go here, fart in my mouth. And that's kind of what they do.
Even in the sitcoms, right? If you were watching Different Strokes or Facts of Life, all of them dealt with really heavy stories at times, right?
Yes.
Whether it's Dudley in the basement with the cameraman, or them dealing with suicide and drug abuse, and even Facts of Life, I think, had a rape episode where the person ended up killing themselves at the end. Like they don't even do that anymore, right? Like they
for some reason we could handle it then, but modern audiences can't handle it.
Yeah, it's really weird. Or they underestimate modern audience, right? I think the youngest generation is riddled with anxiety, and I think part of that is how they're treated. They treat them like kids that are like fragile kids that can't handle some situations, right? And that everything is an emergency or a disaster, and they just keep them scared constantly. And then we wonder why, when they graduate and get out into the real world, they have anxiety and can't function, when they just spent the last 18 years being scared to death by their parents, by their teachers, and everything else. So it's just a different time. What were we, the latchkey kids? Our parents just let us run wild and just come out before the lights come on, and or when the lights come on, get your butt home, kind of a thing, right?
That was a big thing. We weren't inside the whole time. We were actually outside. Right. And like you said, you heard, James, your mom's got dinner on. You got to get home. And that's when you knew I got to go, guys. I got to go.
Yeah.
And we were treated as actually like human beings who can do things. Modern kids today can't do anything. And that's from what I've been noticing. I agree with you. There's a lot more anxiety with kids. They always feel like they can't try something. Back then, Jesus, man, we were in the woods. We're building forts out of stuff we found around the place. This will hold us up, and you make an attempt at it.
Yeah, 100%. It was just it's different. I think, and it's not the kids' faults. I mean, we're the parents now that are raising those kids. We're the ones that are scared to death and scaring them to death, right? And maybe it is because we could go do whatever we want and we knew what we were up to.
But yeah, Cammy put it right here perfectly. We were the last generation who were allowed to eat those delicious lead paint chips.
Yeah,
You know, that's true. That's true.
Indeed.
And that's the thing
remember
too.
when red M&Ms got banned, and what a big deal it was when red M&Ms came back.
Yeah, and actually, so I think some other colors just got banned. I was just reading just the other day. We grew up. That's the thing. We grew up that way. We grew up in cars without seatbelts. We grew up in cars where it was just a bench seat, and everyone was in the back. We had pickup trucks. You were in the back, and they were driving. I had my uncle driving. He would just like go, like, whoa, in the back of this truck, doing 80 miles an hour on the highway.
100%.
We survived, and now they got to be in seatbelts. They got to have 5 points on them. You know,
everybody's in a crash seat, right? Like they're on their way to Mars or in a dragster or something.
Right. And think about this. Think of Yosemite Sam. What did he do like every episode? Or Elmer Fudd, who's shooting the rabbit or shooting those guns all the time. I didn't shoot anybody. Did you shoot anybody? No.
Not
now, there's none of that in the cartoons, and people are getting shot up in schools all the time.
Yeah.
Just to make you think. Just to make you think. Probably wasn't the right thing for me to say, but hey, I did. Too late. It's out there. So, James, tell us a little bit more, like what's coming up on your show. What do you have any future plans?
So
wait, you just came back from CES. I didn't even talk about that. How was CES?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a lot to take in. It was my first ever CES. So I was a bit overwhelmed at the scope of it, right? And luckily I went as a media person. Like they let me in for some reason. And so I got to go to the like media night ahead of time, which was better because I got much more intimate access with people. So I made a lot of contacts and saw a lot of cool things there. Like one of the probably the most interesting thing of that night was this electric spoon. And you're like, what the heck is an electric spoon, right? And it's electric salt. So when it allows you to eat food with no salt in it. And as you eat it, the spoon gives you the flavor of salt while you're eating.
Because it vibrates or something?
I don't know. But it had a massive crowd of people, and it did have these little metal nodes on the, in the spoon part on the inside. But it was crazy. It had so many people there, like 5, 6 deep all around it, trying to film, trying to see this magic spoon, because I guess for health reasons, if it actually works, right, you can cut salt completely out of your diet. You just eat with this spoon.
I guess, but I don't know if I'd want to be in line. This person tasting it. Here, Glenn, your turn. No, I don't think I want to try that.
I was wondering. I was like, well, there's a few bowls of like ramen and stuff out there. Surely people aren't actually eating that, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Everybody's sharing the spoon.
Oh,
it was like nuts. But a lot of it was the same. You went around as kind of the same old thing, right? AI glasses everywhere, so everybody's making those. You've got everybody's trying to outdo themselves on bigger TVs with tinier LEDs. We've seen transparent TVs before. They're getting better. I mean,
you saw really some there? Cool. There were some transparent TVs.
Yeah, LG did this like central display that went floor to ceiling in the convention center and was completely round. And it just looked like a big round pillar of TVs where they were doing this just different,
channels,
a big video around the whole thing. And then at one point it opens up, like all the TVs turned sideways and you could see through it. And in the inside, they had a bunch of lights hanging down, like on strings, like, strings of white lights. Then the TVs closed again and went completely transparent, and you could see all the way through it and all the lights on the inside. And then it turned to like stained glass windows, and so they looked like real windows. You could see,
and the color representation was good. I mean, it looked good.
It was pretty amazing. Like, it was really cool. Each panel was $60,000. They had like 100 of them. Like, it was a huge amount to make that thing work.
So you didn't put your fingerprints on it, did you? Put your fingerprints all over the
No,
glass?
they had you standing way back from it, so you were nowhere near touching the thing. But, you know, so that was kind of interesting. Obviously, those big micro LED things were kinda cool, but again, those are as much as a Ferrari, so you're not gonna
For
actually
now,
ever buy
and
one.
in 2 years, it'll be $3.15 to buy, which is good. That's a
100%.
good thing about electronics.
Well, I think the nice thing when that comes out, you'll have your dream of having the video side panels on an arcade
Yes. Yeah, we were talking about
there
that
are
before
these
the
little
show.
modular things, so you could totally do it.
Yeah. So we were talking about before the show. So my idea I've had for many years is to basically have LCDs on, the flexible LCDs on the sides
Right.
of these machines and the front, everywhere. So when you pick, let's say, Donkey Kong, all the art comes up, and every inch of the machine looks like the Donkey Kong machine. Maybe you want chips. Maybe some artists put some chips in it and
Yeah.
cigarette burns. And then you pick
Yeah.
Zaxxon, it changes over to that machine and so forth. So I'm hoping like 5 years, it'll be a possibility. If this stuff really starts coming down in price, obviously, if we start doing large tariffs, maybe it'll be 10 years because
Yeah.
that may kind of change that. But I do think eventually that's where we will go. And I think that's a good thing, like with FPGA. We didn't get into this. We can talk forever. Like FPGA, that's going to really save these old machines. The LCD screens, unfortunately, I would love to see some come out with kind of like what New Wave Toys has been doing with the little screen, Brenzel lens over the LCD panel. Try to
give
make
you
these
the illusion.
LCDs look like a CRT as best it can. And like anything else, look, take batteries. Nothing changed for them in many years. But now electric cars and these power walls. Now all these battery technology is really going nuts. I would like to see that on the LCD side. I want to see an LCD which is going to have low power consumption, less heat, last longer. I really want it to have that look and the warmth you get with a CRT. And obviously, having arcade machines, you must really have nostalgia for that effect playing those games with that big CRTs.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I'm kind of hoping. I don't know how much you pay attention to like the RetroTink 4K, where they're able to get pretty close, but not exact, but as close as we've ever done before. So I think as you see like 8K TVs come out and stuff like that, I think that's when we'll hit the era where it will be indistinguishable from a real CRT.
Isn't that funny,
Like,
though? You have to have an
I think it'll look so
8K
good.
TV to equal a 420 by 200 interlaced screen. That's crazy.
Yeah, you have to get the pixels so small that you can mimic the fuzziness and things that a CRT would do, right? Because of light bleed and things like that, I guess. So it's, the phosphorus or whatever's in there. So,
All right.
I think it's coming sooner than we think. But
I
it's
would like to
right
see
now,
that.
it's very expensive.
Yeah, I would
Right,
like
so
to see that.
The 4K, that RetroTink 4K is like $750, and it's just to give you the illusion of a CRT, right? So that's a huge price.
It is.
But once that becomes perfected, it spreads out and it'll just be a staple in CRTs when you buy it. That'll be one of the modes you can flip it in.
Right. And I think that would be an
I think
awesome
there's
thing.
a lot of demand for it because even all these VHS collectors want that stuff, right?
Absolutely. And I feel bad. Again, my heart goes out to people out in California, all the stuff's going out there. I'm seeing a lot of posts, people losing their homes, they're losing all the family is most important, their pets most important, of course.
Right.
But after they know that's safe, the next thing they go to is they have collections. I've seen large laserdisc collections destroyed, arcades, consoles. So I just feel bad for them. Going through a flood down here myself, I do understand it. But as long as everyone is safe, I reached out to Shiloh because Shiloh, New Wave Toys is out there. I reached out to Shiloh, and he said he's okay. They're okay, which is great news.
That's good.
But to anyone else out there that's having some difficulties, my heart goes out to you. I hope everything gets better. So James, we are running up to the end of the show. So what do you have coming up? Anything big planned for the channel? Any big interviews? Anything?
Not anything specific, I will say. I've got some videos that I have planned that are more along the toy line where I'm going to focus on a few lines of toys and tell like some of the history and secrets about them. I've been compiling these over the last year so that I actually have them in order to show and display and stuff. So that's something that it's going to be like I don't know, like kind of a mini documentary, but not a documentary because it's going to be very much just me talking about it and showing them, not going through like all the major editing and things like that. So I'm excited to do that because I've been planning it and working on it for a while. But for the most part, it's just talking about the news and all the latest stuff. I definitely am working on one of the Build-A-Cade FU because I'm super excited for that to come out. Who doesn't want you know
Are you more on the 19-inch size? You looking like if you would get one, 19 or
well,
25? What are you
so I
looking for?
definitely so I've played that Unico Nova Blast in person because they have one in an arcade here in town. Obviously, there's a connection to Unico here as well. So I've played it and it's amazing in person, that giant screen.
Oh,
So
okay.
I want the giant screen, but after Dub showed the functioning one,
It's kind of
I'm like,
cool,
oh
isn't
man,
it?
now I really want that thing too, right? So I might end up with both, right? Because I got to have one, to just stand out, and that way I can keep one that looks like Nintendo, and then have one that looks like whatever I want it to
Right.
look like, kind of a
And,
thing.
and that's why I have this video in the middle here. You can see on this side I kept it gray, so you can
Right.
see that's how it looks when you put it in. But then the black, so
Yeah.
you can
Then you
see
get
how
the
the
nice.
cabinet changed its style. But again, we're working on the artwork now for like the packaging. We do have packaging on there, so work
Yeah.
on that. I had a very good conversation actually last night with Unico, so things are going very well with them. So we're moving along. I'm hoping to have something to share maybe in a week or so, and then maybe we can open up, maybe pre-orders right after that. So a lot of progress is going on there. But anyone who is not, please go over to James Hates Everything's YouTube channel. Subscribe, give thumbs up, watch his videos. We always appreciate anyone who can help out. Add subscribers and likes. Every little thing helps. And James is a really good guy. Look, look at his smile. Look at this. Look at him.
Appreciate that.
Look at him. You gotta like him. So James, I do appreciate you coming on the show. Hope to have you on again at some point. But I do want to say again, I hope everyone else is safe out there. Remember that family and friends are most important. James, is there any last things you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to thank you. It's been fun. I didn't know what you wanted to talk about, so it's
Nothing.
interesting to talk
I'm the
about me. So it's
Seinfeld of
great and all these
shows.
great things. Yeah. What a good show to do something about, because that's like a classic, right? So really appreciate you having me on. You're a religious watch for me every Friday. So I love the stuff you do. You made one of my dreams come true with the Ikari super stick,
That's right. I forgot you
yeah,
built one. You built yourself an
I
Ikari
did.
Warriors. I
Yes,
totally
I
forgot
haven't.
about that.
I will do a video on it eventually. I've shown it off a little bit in chunks. Like I did a video of the live install of buttons to test it and play with it in different stages. But I've been trying to figure out, I've emailed you a lot on the trying to get the things to fit in there. And they're in there, but I really want to redo the deck so it's exactly like the real thing. And that means I got to go cut some wood and do all that. And I've been very lazy on that front.
Well, I can tell you for sure, 99 Lives Arcade. If you went down there, he's got a beautiful deck he makes. Because you have it in arcade one up, right?
Yeah, I have it in the HS5, so it looks identical to the the ones that were
Right.
out there. And the only piece I haven't done is the deck. So that's all I have left, is to get the right deck in there and then to skin it properly, and then it'll be perfect. But I play that one a ton, right? Because people crap on Ikari Warriors. That's by far like one of my favorite arcade
I love
games of all
Ikari, but
time.
I have a little extra love for Frontline. Halo
Yeah, I
Frontline.
got that one on there too. I put
Yeah.
all of those on there. Anything that required like the spinning movement is on there because I enjoy a lot of those. Even
I think a
some
lot
of
of
these
people
tank
poop
games I
on
never
it
even heard of.
because they play the NES port, and it's not the
Yeah.
same experience. It's
Not even close.
no,
Right?
it's totally different.
100%. And I mentioned earlier I owned a heavy barrel, so of course heavy barrel's on there. But I owned a heavy barrel because I really wanted to own an Ikari Warriors. And that was like the
Nice.
next best thing, right?
Nice.
So,
And SNK has been a really good partner. I'm hoping something else will come down to the pipeline in the future. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I'm working on something with them. Hopefully something will work out. But I do, James, I want to thank you once again for joining. I know the Super Gaming Dudes is running, but I just wanted to tell everyone again, give you thoughts to people who are maybe having some difficulties, especially out in California. Remember, tomorrow's never promised. Always tell family and friends you love them, especially if they live in Florida. Got to say that at those people there too. Just me personally. But on that, I want to say, everyone have a great evening. Thanks for joining the show, James. Hope to have you on again. And everyone have a great night. And game on. Game on.
Gluing on cartridges, hit reset. 8-bit dreams, can't lose that bet. Floppy disks and arcade lights. Pac-Man, Frogger, we're playing all night. Simpsons in the background, neon in the air. 80s vibes, man, we didn't care. VHS tapes staying up too late. Saturday cartoons, can't wait to escape. Dial-ups humming, we're hacking the code. Back when everything was in upload mode. Atari, Commodore, pixels on screen. Living in the future was more than a dream. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll and roll. It's time to kick it old school, where the beats are fresh, the tech was gold. From arcades to TV shows that ruled, you know we're kicking it old school. MTV playing our favorite jams, moonwalking with MJ, Neon Slam. Ghostbusters gear, we're ready to go. Chasing slasher scenes, fears in tow. Back to the future, hop in the DeLorean. Night Rider cruising, man, there's no ignoring them. Battlestar Galactica, what a ride. Looney Tunes, antics, pure joy inside. Blockbusters ruled, we lined up for days. Video games booted up in the pixelated maze. Movie marathons and popcorn nights, we ruled the screen, living in the lights. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll, we roll. It's time to kick it old school, where the beats are fresh, the tech was gold. From arcades to TV shows that ruled, you know we're kicking it old school. Grab your joystick, the game's about to start. A high score world, now that's an art. We're cruising on hoverboards, living our dream. Old school forever, we're igniting the scene. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll.